She saw the humans standing over her wrecked escape pod, and instead of screaming, instead of fighting, the alien woman closed her eyes and waited to die. Across the stars, humans were known as destroyers. And she believed the stories were true. The storm on Kepler 186f was not natural. Violet lightning tore across the sky, slamming into the black jungle with violent cracks that shook the ground. Dr. Elias Crow ran through the rain, boots sinking into glowing mud, his breath loud inside his helmet. The emergency signal was still blinking on his wrist display, unknown origin, non-human, and rapidly failing. Elias wasn't a soldier. He wasn't even supposed to be outside the research dome. But when the alert appeared, something inside him refused to ignore it. Humans had crossed half the galaxy chasing questions. Turning away now felt wrong. The clearing ahead burned with scattered debris. Metal that wasn't metal twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. At the center of it all lay a broken pod, split open like a cracked shell. And beside it, barely moving, was her. She was tall, slender, her skin shimmering with faint silver-blue light that pulsed unevenly. One of her legs was bent the wrong way. Dark, glowing blood soaked into the alien soil beneath her. When Elias stepped closer, his movement made a sound. Her eyes snapped open. They were wide, luminous, filled with raw terror. She looked at him, really looked, and whatever hope she had left vanished. Slowly, carefully, as if afraid even motion would bring pain faster, she closed her eyes. Her hands relaxed at her sides. She was surrendering. Elias froze. "Oh," he whispered. "No. No, 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 that's not what this is." He knelt down immediately, holding both hands up even though she couldn't see him. He moved slowly, deliberately, like approaching a frightened animal. His heart hammered as he scanned her injuries. Severe trauma. Internal bleeding. Shock setting in fast. He opened his medical pack and activated the universal bioscanner. The device struggled, then adjusted, translating her physiology in rough outlines. She was dying. "Hey," Elias said softly, voice trembling despite himself. "You don't get to quit yet. I crossed 3 continents of death forest to find you. At least be polite and stay alive." No response. Rain slid down his visor. His hands worked on instinct now, applying coagulant foam that adapted as it touched her glowing blood. Her body jerked once, a sharp intake of breath escaping her lips, but she didn't fight him. Because she thought he was finishing the job. The scanner chimed. Stabilization. Partial. Her chest rose more evenly. Her eyes opened again, just a fraction. Confusion replaced fear. "You did not strike," a weak, distorted voice said. Elias let out a shaky breath that almost became a laugh. "Yeah. That'd be rude." Her translator struggled, crackling as it learned his language. "Humans, eliminate survivors." He paused. "That one hurt." "Sometimes," he admitted quietly. "But sometimes we also help strangers we don't understand, on planets that want to kill us." She studied his face. His hands. The patchwork gear held together by tape and stubbornness. Not a warrior. Not a conqueror. "Why?" she asked. Elias thought of the empty nights in orbit. Of humanity's reputation written in burned worlds and broken treaties. Of how tired he was of that story. "Because," he said, "someone once helped us when we were weak. And we didn't forget." A distant rumble rolled through the jungle, not thunder this time. Something mechanical. Heavy. Her eyes widened again, panic returning. She tried to move and failed, pain flashing across her alien features. "They are coming," she whispered. "My pursuers." Elias looked toward the trees. His scanner picked up multiple energy signatures. Drones. Military grade. Not human. "How long?" he asked. "Minutes." Elias swallowed. He wasn't armed for a firefight. His research outpost barely had power. But as he looked at the wounded alien woman struggling to stay conscious, something old and fierce rose inside him. Humans didn't win by being stronger. They won by refusing to quit. "Okay," he said, forcing calm into his voice. Then we improvise. He carefully lifted her, surprised by how light she felt, and started moving toward the hills. Each step burned his muscles. Rain turned the ground slick. The jungle screamed around them. Behind them, lights flickered between the trees. She clutched his sleeve weakly. "If they capture me," she said, "they will burn your world for assisting." Elias grunted as he adjusted his grip. "Yeah," he replied. "They'll have to find it first." For the first time, despite the pain, despite the fear, the alien woman made a small, disbelieving sound. It might have been laughter. And somewhere deep in the storm, humanity took its first step toward rewriting how the galaxy saw them. They reached the cave just as the first energy blast scorched the clearing behind them. The explosion lit the jungle in harsh white light, shadows dancing like broken ghosts. Elias threw himself forward, shielding the injured alien woman with his own body as debris rained down. The cave swallowed them in darkness, damp stone closing around them like a clenched fist. Inside, the air was cold and metallic. Old. This wasn't a natural cave. Faint lines ran along the walls, ancient, geometric, forgotten by time. The alien woman gasped as Elias gently lowered her onto the ground. Her breathing was shallow again. The effort of moving had cost her more than she wanted to admit. "They will scan," she said weakly. "They will find us." Elias removed his helmet and wiped rain from his face. "Then we give them something better to look at." He pulled a small device from his pack, a compact power regulator meant for atmospheric sensors. Not a weapon. Not even close. But humans had survived worse with less. "What is that?" she asked. "Technically," Elias said, "already working. A weather stabilizer. Practically, a very angry box that hates being overworked." Outside, mechanical footsteps echoed closer. The hunters were precise. Efficient. Built to erase problems. Elias jammed wires together, rerouting the regulator's output into the cave's ancient circuitry. The walls hummed faintly, responding like something half asleep. The alien woman watched him with growing disbelief. "You do not know this technology." "Nope," Elias said. "But I know systems. Everything talks if you stress it enough." A drone hovered near the cave entrance, its light slicing into the darkness. It scanned once. Twice. Elias slapped the regulator. The cave woke up. Energy surged through the stone, old systems flaring to life. The drone outside shrieked as its sensors overloaded, spiraling backward before slamming into a tree and detonating harmlessly. The jungle went quiet. The alien woman stared. That was impossible. Elias exhaled. "Yeah. Humans hear that a lot." More signals appeared on his scanner. Dozens. The pursuers were regrouping. "We can't stay," he said. "But I can slow them." He turned to her. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then answered. "My designation is Erin Vostell, Strategic Navigator of the Lithari Union." He smiled faintly. Elias Crow. Human. Bad at following orders. Erin studied him. "You should abandon me. You would survive." Elias shook his head without hesitation. "Not how we do things." He rerouted power again, creating false signatures across the jungle, phantom movements, fake heat trails, ghost signals bouncing in every direction. The drones split up, confused. Erin watched the display in awe. "Our fleets struggle against such hunters." "Well," Elias said, helping her sit up, "we struggled against lions once. Turns out brains beat claws." They moved deeper into the cave, emerging into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood something enormous, a ringed structure embedded in the floor, cracked but still pulsing faintly. Erin's eyes widened. "This is a gate." Elias stared. "Like, teleport." "Like," she whispered, "a road between stars." Elias let out a breathy laugh. "Of course it is. Because today wasn't strange enough." The gate flickered as his earlier surge bled into it. Systems long dead struggled back to life. Erin grabbed his arm. "Elias. If this activates, it will send a signal across known space. He met her gaze. Good. Let them hear us. The drones burst into the chamber entrance, weapons charging. Elias stepped forward, standing between them and the gate, holding nothing but a scorched tool and human stubbornness. Come on, he muttered. Let's make history. The gate roared to life behind him, light spilling outward like a newborn star. Across the galaxy, sensors flared. Ancient networks whispered awake. And for the first time in recorded history, alien civilizations saw something that made no tactical sense at all. A single human, standing unarmed, refusing to move. The drones fired. The light swallowed everything. And the galaxy blinked. The light did not burn. That was the first thing Elias realized. He had expected pain, heat, something violent. Instead, the world stretched, folded, and then settled, like reality taking a careful breath. When the brightness faded, he was still standing. So were the drones. They hovered in midair, frozen, weapons half-charged, caught in a moment that refused to move forward. Erin gasped behind him. This is a temporal lock. Elias blinked. You mean time stopped? Not stopped, she corrected weakly. Paused. Bent. Localized. He looked around. Dust hung motionless. Light beams stayed solid. Even his own breath felt thick, slow. Okay, he said quietly. I definitely didn't mean to do that. The gate behind them pulsed, its ancient symbols shifting and rewriting themselves. Whatever this structure had once been, it was no longer dormant. Human interference had done what centuries of alien study never could. It had improvised. Erin stared at the gate with something close to reverence. This technology predates every known empire. It was abandoned because it was too unstable. Elias scratched his head. We call that unfinished. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Not as a threat. Not as a primitive species. But as something unpredictable. A variable. The pause broke. Time snapped forward with a violent jolt. Elias stumbled, catching himself as sound and motion crashed back into existence. The drones screamed as the gate released a shockwave of scrambled physics. 3 were ripped apart instantly. The rest spun wildly, crashing into walls and each other. Erin cried out as Elias pulled her down, shielding her again. When the noise ended, the chamber was filled with smoke and flickering debris. Silence followed. They were alive. Elias laughed once, sharp and breathless. I'm never touching ancient alien tech again. Erin managed a weak smile. You will. Humans always do. Her smile faded as her body trembled. The effort had cost her. Elias checked her vitals, still unstable. We need help, he said. Real help. Erin's voice dropped. If my people detect me through that gate, they will come. Good, Elias said immediately. They are your people. She shook her head slowly. They will not come to rescue. They will come to reclaim and erase witnesses. Elias absorbed that in silence. Before he could respond, his wrist display chirped. A signal. Human. Research Outpost Epsilon to Dr. Crow, a voice crackled. Elias, what in God's name did you just do? Every sensor in orbit just went insane. Elias closed his eyes in relief. Good news, he said. I found first contact. There was a long pause. Define found, the voice said carefully. Elias looked at Erin. At the alien gate humming behind them. At the wrecked drones littering the chamber. She's injured, he said. And someone's hunting her. And they won't stop at this planet. Orbit changed everything. Human ships were not beautiful like alien vessels. They were blocky, scarred, layered with redundant systems and visible repairs. They looked like they expected to be hit, and planned to keep going anyway. As the first human cruiser arrived above Kepler 186f, dozens of alien sensors locked onto it instantly. Across the galaxy, observers leaned closer to their displays. The Lithari Union had marked humans as a developing species. Clever, yes. Adaptive, but dangerous only in small numbers. That assumption died in orbit. The human ship did not broadcast threats. It did not posture. It opened a channel. "This is Captain Mara Solis of the UNV Iron Promise," her voice carried, calm and unshaken. "We are responding to a distress signal involving a protected individual. Any hostile action will be interpreted as an act of war." Alien commanders hesitated, not because of the ship's weapons, but because of its tone. Humans did not sound afraid. More human ships arrived. Then more. Not sleek fleets, but a patchwork armada of explorers, cargo haulers, retrofitted miners, civilian craft with armor bolted on in a hurry. They came anyway. Erin watched the sky from a med bay window hours later, her wounds finally stabilized by human doctors who argued loudly and worked fast. "They came," she whispered. Elias sat beside her, exhausted, bruised, alive. "Yeah. We do that." She turned her head slowly. "My people studied humanity for decades. You should have broken under your own history. Your wars. Your divisions." Elias smiled faintly. "We almost did. A lot." "Then why stand for me?" she asked. "Why risk everything?" He thought of the scientists and pilots and mechanics who showed up without orders. Of Captain Solis holding the line with words instead of guns. "Because," he said, "we know what it's like to be hunted. And we promised ourselves we'd be better." The answer shook her more than any weapon. Alerts flared across the station. New signals, Lithari warships dropping from hyperspace. Dozens. Then hundreds. The galaxy held its breath. Captain Solis appeared on the screen, eyes sharp. "Elias. They're demanding custody of the alien. Say she's a strategic asset." Elias stood. His legs felt heavy, but his voice didn't shake. "Tell them no." Erin's eyes widened. "Elias." "They crossed into our space," he continued. "They attacked a civilian world. That makes this our problem." Solis nodded once. "Understood." The human fleet shifted, forming a protective arc around the station. Smaller ships tucked in close. Bigger ones moved forward. The alien commanders hesitated again. Humans were outgunned. Outnumbered. Technologically inferior. But they did something no model predicted. They stood together. Erin felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Hope. The first alien weapon charged. And every human ship powered its shields in response, not to attack, but to endure. Elias watched the stars outside, heart pounding. "Looks like," he said softly, "they're about to learn why we're still here." The first shot never came. Because the gate on the planet below activated again, this time on its own. And the galaxy listened. The gate's light did not explode outward this time. It spread slowly, calmly, like dawn breaking across a sleeping world. Every ship in orbit, human and alien alike, felt it. Sensors screamed. Calculations failed. Languages older than memory scrolled across displays that had never been designed to read them. The ancient structure on the planet below was no longer reacting. It was speaking. Captain Mara Solis gripped the edge of her command console as her bridge crew struggled to keep up. "Report," she ordered. "We're receiving a broadcast," an officer said, voice tight. "Not a signal. More like a presence. It's everywhere." Across the void, Lithari warships faltered. Their formation broke as commanders argued, shouted, demanded explanations that did not exist. Down on the surface, Elias felt it too. The air vibrated, not with sound, but with meaning. The gate symbols rearranged themselves, no longer alien, no longer ancient. They were understandable. Erin's eyes filled with stunned recognition. "This gate," she whispered, "was never meant for conquest." Elias swallowed. "Then what was it for?" She looked at him. "For meeting." The med bay trembled as power surged through the station. Human engineers scrambled, redirecting energy, grounding feedback, doing what humans always did when faced with the impossible, making it work just enough. The gate's light sharpened, forming an image above the planet. Not a being. Not a weapon. A record. A story. Civilizations long dead appeared in shimmering outlines. Species no one remembered. Worlds that had burned, frozen, or simply faded away. Each had found the gate. Each had been offered something. A choice. The message unfolded without words, yet every mind understood it. The gate did not elevate the strong. It responded to those willing to protect others at cost to themselves. Erin's breath hitched. The Lithari believed this technology rewarded dominance, that it belonged to those who could control it. Elias watched images of alien fleets tearing each other apart over glowing relics. "Let me guess," he said quietly. "They failed." "Yes," she replied. "Every time." In orbit, Captain Solis straightened as the meaning settled over her crew. "They're seeing it too," she said. "All of them." The alien commanders went silent. Their fleets had come expecting submission, expecting fear, expecting a young species to bend or break. Instead, they were being judged by something older than empire. The gate pulsed again. This time, it focused on humanity. A collective gasp rippled across the human fleet as systems aligned without instruction. Shields synced. Power grids balanced. Civilian ships were prioritized automatically, their weaker hulls protected by stronger neighbors. No command issued it. Humans simply did it. Erin felt tears trace glowing lines down her face. "It's choosing you." Elias shook his head, overwhelmed. "We didn't do anything special." She met his eyes. "You did the one thing no empire ever did. You stood between the powerful and the helpless, without knowing you would be rewarded." The Lithari flagship broke formation. Its weapons powered down. A transmission cut through the chaos, translated cleanly by the gate itself. "This is High Executor Rel Ka of the Lithari Union," the voice said, strained. "We withdraw our claim." Murmurs erupted across human channels. Rel Ka continued, bitterness heavy in every word. "The gate does not recognize our authority. It recognizes intent." Captain Solis leaned forward. "Then recognize this," she said. "The individual you hunted is under human protection." A long pause followed. "Protection," Rel Ka repeated, tasting the word. "From what?" "From anyone," Solis replied evenly. The alien fleet began to retreat, ships slipping into hyperspace one by one. Not defeated, but denied. When the last hostile signature vanished, the gate dimmed. The ancient light softened, then faded, leaving only quiet stars and a changed galaxy. Elias slumped into a chair, hands shaking now that the danger had passed. "I think," he said, "we just accidentally joined galactic politics." Erin laughed weakly. "You have already rewritten them." Days passed. The story spread faster than any human message ever had. Across dozens of worlds, species re-evaluated humanity, not as conquerors, not as primitives, but as something far more unsettling. Unpredictable. Human engineers studied the gate, but it resisted control. It responded only when humans acted together, only when intent aligned with protection instead of profit. It could not be owned. Only answered. Erin recovered slowly, spending long hours with Elias, asking questions that no one had ever asked humans before. "Why do you joke in danger?" she asked one night. He smiled tiredly. "Because fear shrinks when you laugh at it." "Why do you help strangers?" she asked another time. He thought for a long moment. "Because someday, we might be the stranger." The galaxy watched humanity closely now, not waiting for them to fail, waiting to see what they would choose next. But not everyone was satisfied. In the dark between stars, beyond mapped space, something ancient stirred. Not a gate. Not a guardian. A watcher. It had observed the pattern before, species rising, failing, repeating mistakes. But this time was different. Humans had activated a system that was never meant to wake again. And while the gate responded to compassion, the watcher responded to potential. Deep in the void, eyes opened that had not opened in eons. And they focused on Earth. The Watcher did not arrive with fire. That was the first mistake everyone expected, and the one it did not make. Across Earth's skies, across colonies and stations and listening posts, sensors registered a presence that bent space without breaking it. No hyperspace rupture. No weapons charge. Just a sudden, crushing awareness that something impossibly old had turned its attention toward humanity. People felt it before instruments confirmed it. Dreams changed. Animals went silent. Children stared at the stars and asked questions their parents could not answer. Elias Crow stood in the observation ring above Kepler 186f when the alert came through. He did not panic. He felt heavy, like the universe had leaned closer. Erin stood beside him now, no longer a patient but an ally. Her posture was straighter, her presence calmer, though her eyes reflected something close to fear. "It has noticed you," she said. Elias exhaled slowly. "Let me guess. That's bad." "The Watcher," Erin continued, "is older than the gate. Older than our histories. It observes civilizations when they cross certain thresholds." "And what does it do?" Elias asked. She met his gaze. "It decides if they continue." The Human Council convened within hours. Not in secret. Not behind locked doors. Broadcast openly, translated freely, watched by the galaxy. That alone unsettled many alien observers. Humans did not hide their fear. They talked about it. Scientists spoke. Philosophers argued. Soldiers warned. Farmers, pilots, teachers, ordinary humans were invited to speak, their words raw and unpolished. Captain Mara Solis summarized it simply. "We can't fight this thing," she said, "but we can choose how we meet it." The Watcher finally spoke. Not with sound. With truth. Every human screen filled with visions. Not threats, but memories. Humanity's worst moments. Wars. Extinctions. Greed. Cruelty. Mistakes layered upon mistakes. Some people cried. Some turned away. Then the vision shifted. The Watcher showed the other side too. Humans sharing food in disasters. Holding hands in ruins. Standing between the powerful and the helpless, again and again, even when it cost them everything. The message was clear. Potential is dangerous. Choice is decisive. The Watcher offered humanity a path. It would elevate them, grant stability, technology, protection from cosmic threats. In exchange, humanity would surrender autonomy. No more risk. No more chaos. No more defiance. The galaxy waited. Many civilizations had accepted this offer before. None were still free. Elias listened as the offer echoed through every channel. He felt its appeal. Safety. Peace. An end to fear. Erin whispered, "If you accept, you will survive." He nodded. "Yeah." She swallowed. "If you refuse." "We might not," he finished. Silence spread across Earth and its colonies. Then a small voice broke through the open council feed. A child. 8 years old. Sitting beside her mother in a flood shelter. "Excuse me," she said softly. "If we say yes, do we still get to help people?" No one interrupted her. The Watcher paused. Its response was immediate and absolute. No. That was all it took. The council did not vote. They stood. Captain Solis spoke for billions. "Then we refuse." The words echoed across space. The Watcher focused its full attention on humanity. "You choose uncertainty," it said. "Suffering. Risk." Elias stepped forward into the light of the broadcast, heart pounding but voice steady. "Yeah," he said. "That's kind of our thing." Erin watched in awe as no single leader claimed the moment. Humans spoke together. Millions of voices. Different languages. Same meaning. We choose each other. We choose to try. We choose to help. The Watcher observed. Then, something unprecedented happened. It withdrew. Not in anger. In acknowledgement. "Then endure," it said. and be remembered. The presence vanished. Stars felt lighter. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations reeled. Humanity had turned down godhood, not because they couldn't take it, but because it asked them to stop being human. Weeks later, the gate on Kepler 186f activated one final time. Not with blinding light, but with warmth. It left behind a map, paths between stars that required cooperation to function, routes that collapsed if used for conquest, bridges that only stayed open when multiple species worked together. Erin stood beside Elias as the last symbols faded. "You have changed everything," she said. He smiled, tired but proud. "We didn't mean to." She looked at him with something deeper than gratitude. "That may be your greatest strength." Humanity did not become rulers of the galaxy. They became something far more dangerous to tyranny. An example. And when future civilizations reached for the stars and wondered what kind of species they would become, they would hear the same story. Of a wounded alien woman who closed her eyes, expecting death, and a human who knelt beside her, and chose otherwise.